Welcome to the Peak Performance and Peak Satisfaction podcast with Master Executive Coach Sherry Gregoff. Sherry helps business people perform better, get rewarded handsomely, and actually enjoy their work. After having her own career turnaround, she now helps other high-powered business professionals experience the same. Join the movement to work differently.
Welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here. It's easy to talk about the fear that shows up early in a big goal, when the finish line still feels far away and you're tempted to not even pursue it. What's rarely talked about is the fear that shows up right at the end, when everything you wanted is finally within reach, and some part of you starts looking for a reason to pull back. Today, we tackle both and how to keep going even with the fear. Before we jump in, I want to shout out one of my clients who had a win in this area. Here's what he shared with me. I'm becoming the person with a deep and broad network of nurtured relationships that can surface as many opportunities as I want, as quickly as I want. I'm now the person who can handle a challenging role, including difficult personalities, during our busy season, while my job search is taking off. This client used to pump the brakes when what he wanted started to flow his way in terms of potential job opportunities. Having had burnout before, he feared the search and a demanding job at the same time would get the best of him. We have worked through developing self-trust to take care of himself as the first and top priority over his career, and to make decisions in the moment that don't overextend him. Now, in the final stages of his job search, he no longer looks to slow things down just as he nears his goal. This is what I have seen him master in our work together. He balances time off the desk, investing in his career, while delivering on the expectations of him at the office. He takes his days off too, for fun with his spouse and friends to rest and recharge. He knows he comes back more grounded and performing better because of it. And he feels better overall because of his well-rounded life too. He has become the professional who knows that he will make the best of wherever he chooses to go next. He knows if it's not a fit after a time, he can always move again. He knows how to create new job opportunities and how to be successful in interviews. He has gotten valuable practice taking this action and getting in repetitions, so he knows he will have this skill now that he can use whenever he needs it. He no longer waits for opportunities or for things to get better on their own. He boldly does what's fully in his control, and he intentionally influences what's indirectly in his control. It's been such a delight to watch this professional truly step into his leadership identity and become so comfortable proactively leading his career in every way. In this way, he has no regrets. He knows he has done everything he can, and he practices trusting that the rest will work out for the best. He accepts it takes as long as it takes and believes it is all steering him to the best spot for him. This has been a transformation from overthinking and over-optimizing. I see wins like this across my clients, and I've experienced them in my own career as well. That's why I'm excited to talk about today's topic. Let's jump in and get you on your way to experiencing this too. Here's something I see happen constantly, and it's almost never talked about. People don't just get discouraged when the goal feels far away, they also sabotage themselves right when they're about to get it. Think about that for a second. Not just struggling through the hard, messy middle of a job search or a big career goal, but actually pulling back at the very moment success shows up. Skipping the thank you note, going quiet in the final interview, finding a reason the perfect opportunity isn't quite right after all. If that sounds strange, stay with me because I think almost everyone has done a version of this without realizing it. Let's start earlier though, because to understand why this happens right before the finish line, You have to understand what's actually running in the background the entire time. Our brains are built to scan for problems. Some people call this a negativity bias and think of it as just their personality, something they were born with, something permanent. But it's not personality. It's your survival brain doing exactly what it evolved to do, scanning the environment for threats. That instinct was incredibly useful when the threat was a wild animal that could eat you. Every rustle in the grass got judged instantly, good or bad, safe or dangerous, fast. In a modern career, that same system doesn't have wild animals to look for, so it looks for anything. It becomes this ever-present inner judge, finding what's wrong with the situation, no matter how good the situation actually is. It can feel like it's raining on your own parade, even when you're the one who could be celebrating. If your brain scanning for negative feels like it's in overdrive, you are not broken, and you're not unusually negative by nature. Everyone has this. Some people have just practiced taming it more than others. If this is a muscle that you haven't exercised yet, you're exactly where you need to be to start. I have a client who's conducting a job search while still in her current role. The judge shows up often for her, and I'd guess it shows up for you too, in some version of these exact sentences. I shouldn't have to apply to this many roles. I shouldn't have to follow up multiple times. I shouldn't have to leverage my network like this. I shouldn't have to ask people to consider where I might help them or their network. I shouldn't have to campaign for my next role at live events. I shouldn't have to look for a job this long. I shouldn't have to tolerate what's happening at my current company. I shouldn't have to work with these people. Notice the pattern. Every one of those is a should statement. And she says them like they're facts. They feel like facts in the moment. But here's the thing about any should. It's never actually a fact. It's a judgment dressed up as one. Let me show you what I mean. She may prefer not to deal with what's happening at her current company or to deal with certain colleagues there, but she chooses to in exchange for the paycheck. So in the end, some part of her wants to. Layering in, I shouldn't have to, on top of that is just fighting reality. And fighting reality is a reliable way to make yourself upset about something that already is what it is. The same goes for the job search. She may prefer not to run several approaches at once, applying, following up, leveraging her network, showing up to live events, but she chooses to because it gets her to the next opportunity faster. So underneath the complaint, she wants to. The shouldn't have to on top of it doesn't change the situation. It just adds suffering to something that was already painful. Here's how you catch this in yourself. When you notice a should statement coming up, when something feels unjust, unfair, or like it shouldn't be this hard, that's your cue. You can cut straight through the drama your inner judge is offering and get to the facts with 2 questions. 1. Why am I choosing to do this thing I don't prefer? And 2, is it worth it? If you can name the real reason you're doing the thing you don't love, and you genuinely believe it's worth it, you can stop adding suffering on top of the effort itself by cutting the drama. You made this decision using the higher level thinking in your prefrontal cortex inside your brain. You weighed the options and you chose the action that truly benefits you. Now, when your more primitive brain pipes up to say this isn't preferable, you can recognize that fighting reality only makes it worse and gently steer yourself back to why you're sticking with the decision today, again, on purpose. Let's answer the 2 questions for the job search example. Why is she choosing to do this thing she doesn't prefer? The search is taking more effort and more time than she expected, but she continues because she still very much wants a new role. Is it worth it? Since this is what the process is proving it actually requires, then yes, it's worth doing. Here's something worth sitting with. Her original expectation of how fast or easy this job search would be was just a guess at the level of effort, a guess at the timeline. It was truly an arbitrary expectation, not based on any specific data or facts. Now she has the real data, gathered from actually living through it. It's no longer a guess, it's information. Her judging brain may still be unhappy about that, but arguing with real data, insisting it should have been easier or faster, it doesn't change the information. It just adds suffering on top of it. Consider this a skill you're building and an experience that you're learning from, not evidence that something has gone wrong. Here's a pattern worth knowing about yourself. We tend to underestimate what we can accomplish in a year or in 3 years, and we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 3 to 6 months. So when something surprises you with how much effort, skill, or repetition it actually takes, that's not a sign anything has gone wrong. It's a sign that your original estimate was just off, the way almost everyone's original estimate is off. It was nothing more than a theory, not a right or an entitlement to what you thought about a situation in advance of being accurate. This feeling of entitlement, that reality should be unfolding different from the way it is, has a sneaky fear lurking underneath it, a fear of ultimate failure. The brain interprets the data that it's taking longer or requiring more effort and concludes from that data that it may never happen. That goal may never come to pass. This is the first fear in the process. To quell this fear, you can double your resolve and recommit to continuing. The only true failure is quitting. So once you take quitting off the table, failure just becomes one step on the road to success. Now here's where it gets super interesting and where I think most people never realize what's actually happening to them. Early in the pursuit of any goal, it's common to feel like it's taking too long or that it's harder than it should be. That's the should phase that we just walked through. But there's a second moment later that catches people completely off guard. It shows up right when you're on the verge of getting exactly what you wanted. The judge doesn't go quiet once you're close. If anything, it gets louder, and your brain can panic in a completely different way than it did at the start. You might notice yourself thinking things like, I want someone to want me for this role, but not that badly. I want to make a real impact where I work, but not that much impact. I want to advance through the interviews, but I don't really want to do that full day of back-to-back interviews that comes next. I want the offer, but I'd rather not have to negotiate it. It's critical to recognize the judge specifically at this moment, because this is exactly where self-sabotage hides. You often don't catch it until it's already cost you something. As a job search starts producing real offers, small things can suddenly give you pause. This place really needs my skills. And that may mean it's going to be a lot of work. What you originally hoped to find, an organization that clearly sees the value you bring and wants you for exactly who you are, is now actually in front of you. And that's precisely when the primitive brain can start to panic that it's going to be too much. Left unchecked, this shows up as pulling back in interviews, skipping the thank you note you'd normally send without thinking twice, getting cold feet right as the offer is forming. Maybe it starts to seem too good to be true. You feel an urge to have other offers to compare it to before committing. You can lose an opportunity just as fast as it arrived, and often without ever consciously deciding to walk away from it. So, what's actually happening underneath this? Often, it's a fear of burnout, sometimes rooted in having actually experienced burnout before. The role that made complete sense as a fit starts to feel, the more you talk to them, like it might be too much of an ask for you. They shouldn't need you this badly, the judge whispers. Maybe it's smarter to look for something easier instead. It can also be another dynamic underneath. Marianne Williamson wrote about the idea that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but that we are powerful beyond measure. When we start to see glimpses of our greatness being fully revealed and put to work in this world, there can be a wavering in our commitment. It can feel scary to be seen in that way, or to be responsible for having significant impact. I've described on the podcast before that this can show up for you like a gulp in your throat. As you wonder, am I really doing this? Am I really going for this? For some, it may be butterflies in the stomach, or even gagging on the idea of going big and being seen. Now that you know about this final speed bump, when it happens, instead of thinking it's time to pull back, you can recognize it as indeed a sign that you are on the right track and that it's time to proceed instead. This is how we take fear and use it to our advantage. We can turn it into a helpful indicator that we are fully living. We are officially off autopilot, and we are breaking the mold and template of the day. We can remember that's exactly the aim, so it's a green light to carry on. You can go back to the same two questions here because they work in this moment too. Why am I choosing to do this thing that I don't prefer? Because they need my help. And I want stable employment at an organization that genuinely values what I contribute because they need my help. And I want stable employment at an organization that genuinely values what I contribute and compensates me for it. Is it worth it? Yes. This is exactly what I said I wanted, and I'll negotiate the compensation to make sure it reflects that. So now you understand this phenomenon. The judging brain doesn't just fight you through the hard, uncertain middle of a pursuit. It also shows up to fight you right when success is arriving. You've got the two questions to cut through both moments, but there's more that can keep you steady against the drama your own brain keeps offering up. Here's a third question, useful especially when the whole journey starts to feel daunting or too big to hold at once. What can I do right now within my control that moves me closer to this goal? And how can I do it willingly? Sometimes the whole picture is genuinely overwhelming. In that case, it helps to come back down to the present moment and refocus only on what's actually in front of you today. Measure success for the day by whether you did the thing that was yours to do today. And that's enough for today. It doesn't need to be more than that. On the point of doing it willingly instead of begrudgingly, consider what you can focus on to keep your endurance and energy up. Maybe it's the simple fact that you never gave up on yourself or your own goals. Maybe it's genuinely acknowledging the effort you put in today, even when the outcome hasn't arrived yet. Celebrating the milestones, even the ones that are pure effort with no visible result yet, keeps your momentum and your mood from collapsing under the weight of how far there may still be to go. Recognize it as further evidence of your commitment. The outcome is as sure as you deciding not to quit. And here you are, after another day of constructive effort. And finally, here's a more reflective question worth sitting with. Who am I becoming in this process? These are answers I hear while coaching leaders. I'm driven. I get crystal clear on why I want what I want, and I go after it, regardless of the drama my own brain offers up. I stay laser focused. I'm patient because it takes as long as it takes. I find a way forward no matter what's happening around me. The fastest route from point A to point B is straight ahead, rather than spinning in place or looking back. This is what I coach business professionals to become. Someone who goes for what they want and gets it consistently, not by accident or pure luck. That's no small thing. It's one of the most valuable skills a person can build in themselves. Here's what I want you to know if you're in the messy middle of this right now, wherever you are in it. If you're early and it feels harder or slower than you expected, that's not a sign you chose wrong. It's a sign you're finally getting real information instead of a guess. If you're closer than you've ever been, and something in you is suddenly finding reasons to slow down, that's not wisdom talking. That's the judge, right on schedule, showing up exactly when it always shows up. You get to decide which voice gets the final word. I think about the version of you on the other side of this, not just holding the job or the promotion or whatever the goal happens to be this time. I think about who you will have become by the time you get there. Someone who didn't need the path to be easy to keep going. Someone who caught the judge in the act and kept walking anyway. That person doesn't just get this one goal. They carry that identity into everything that comes after it. They rack up goal after goal as a natural extension of who they are. Getting there takes learning to work with your own beautiful, over-vigilant brain, rather than either ignoring it or blindly believing everything it offers you as fact. You learn to sort the noise from what's actually true, the facts from the drama, and you practice that sorting daily, as often as the drama shows up, because it will keep showing up. That's not a failure of the practice. That's just what the practice is for. If any part of what I described today sounds familiar, the should statements, the second guessing right when things start going well, the fear that it's all going to be too much, I want you to know that's not a flaw in you. It's just a very human brain doing what it was built to do. You are not broken, and you are not behind. You're simply in the middle of becoming who you're about to become. A consultation is where we sit down to take an honest look at what your own judging brain has been telling you and figure out together what's actually true. From there, I'll help you build a practical plan to get where you're going and become who you're capable of becoming along the way. Schedule yours at the link in the show notes. Until next time.
Looking for support in applying the principles and strategies in today's episode? Sherry coaches clients one-on-one as their trusted confidant and advisor, helping each client create the work and life they had only dreamed of. To schedule your complimentary career strategy session, go to sherrygregoff.com/apply to book time with her today. It's one simple step that can change everything.